Hi, it's Gary. Well, welcome to today's video. So today, going to take a look at another 5 pens from my collection. These are 5 pens all made in Europe. What I've tried to do with this is go for pens that I don't use very often or a pen that I may not have used for quite a while, because I've quite often got other European pens inked up that you see all the time. So yeah, that's why I picked these 5. Join me now, down on the table. Let's take a look at the pens. Welcome down to the table. What I've tried to do is pull out pens that I don't use that often, or that I've only had for a short time, so not really used at all, because otherwise it would have been pens that I'm using and displaying all the time. So my first pen, you've actually been seeing the writing of this for quite a while. This is a Mr. Pen, the Parsons Essential. And this is actually what I've been using for my titles. The nib on here is a medium oblique cursive nib. Yeah, quite a mouthful, isn't it? It took me a while to get used to it. Now I'm used to it. I absolutely love this nib. This pen was actually gifted to me by a viewer, which I very much appreciate. Here we've got the converter. We're getting a bit low on ink in here. Been using it for a while for titles, so once that runs out, I'll then switch to a different pen and ink. I said, here's that nib. You can see there the angle on it. Let me see if I can get this a bit closer to the camera so you can hopefully get a better view. Can't get it to focus in. Let me try that. No, I think I'm too close to the camera, but you can hopefully see the angle there. So that what that means is, instead of holding the pen how I normally would, I have to rotate it slightly. That's what took me a while to get used to. So let's do some writing. So we've got a Mr. Pen. Can you see the line variation we're getting? And it's the Parsons Essential. I'm going to abbreviate this, so it's a medium oblique cursive nib. Price for this pen, roughly, you'd be lucky to get them now, to be honest, 90 Aussie dollars. Mr. Pen retired, I think it was last year or the year before, so I think the only source of these now is the second-hand market. The ink, a few people have actually asked about this, is by Diamine, and it's Velvet Emerald. Let's do that wasky squirrel grid. I am looking at alternatives to this, so if anybody has got something I can do instead of this, what I wanted to do though is show 2 things. The first one is filling these grids. So we see filling it quite quickly there, and wow, look at that. So that's one of the things I want to be able to use. And then the other one is looking at line variation. So you can see here the line variation we've got, depending on the direction that I'm writing. So if anyone's got any ideas, please drop a comment down below and let me know. Drying times, so we got immediate, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. That's there dry after 30 seconds. So this pen from the UK, the Mr. Pen, the Parsons Essential. Jump into Germany for the next pen. This is the Pelikan M200. It's the smallest of that M series of pens, so it's fairly short. Let me just fetch out the Pilot Metropolitan just so you can get an idea. So it is a lot shorter than the Metropolitan. This one is a piston filling pen. No ink window as such, but this part here is slightly transparent, so if you're lucky you can see through it. I can't, I really struggle. So that's one of the downsides. I've got no idea what my ink level is. We've got here the nib. This is a steel nib, and this is a Pelikan steel nib. In the hand it is fairly thin. I say it's a smallish pen, but lengthwise it's actually not too bad. And it does post, and it doesn't feel too bad when it's posted. I'm going to use it unposted. That's just my personal preference. So we've got here a Pelikan, or Pelikan, 205, I believe. Yeah, 205, because it's the silver coloured trim. We've got a broad nib on here. Price wise, you're looking approximately 205 Aussie dollars. The ink is by Colorverse, and it's Blue Moon. Quite a nice coloured ink, isn't it? Let's do that grid. So up and down, side to side, then a grid and diagonals. So not really a lot of line variation coming through there. Drying times, so we go immediate, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. So I'm just going to repeat that 1 minute test. Gary being Gary, I forgot to plug my iPad in, so it ran out of power. So 1 minute. After a minute, teeniest bit of a smudge there, but more or less dry. So that's the Pelikan M205. Let's just move this up ever so slightly. I'm going to go to France for the next pen. This is the oldest pen I've got. This is a Parker Sonnet. It's got a steel nib on it. Absolutely love this pen. It was gifted to me many years ago by some of my grandkids. Here you can hopefully see there we've got engraved on it Grandad, and the year is 2007. So it shows you how long I've had this pen. It's nice, you know, it's very classy looking, isn't it? Cartridge converter. There we go. Uses a Parker converter. Here we've got the nib. The nib, it's been on there since 2007. It's been banged around a lot. Still writes all right though. In the hand, this is one, again, it's a little bit on the thin side. So we've got here a Parker Sonnet. It's got a medium nib on it. Now, I'm going to give the price that I've only been able to find on the internet, which is $300. But I believe, I might be wrong, I believe that's with a gold nib, whereas this is steel. I wasn't able to find anything where it distinctly said it was a steel nib. The ink is by Diamine, and it's Brandy Snap. Do like this ink in this pen. I think this ink colour is really nice, and it's really working well. So let's do that grid. So we go up and down, side to side, and then and diagonals. No line variation coming through at all there. Drying times, immediate, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, still getting a bit of a smudge, 1 minute. After a minute there, that's nice and dry. Seen some nice shading coming through in this ink, and actually same with that Blue Moon. But this is the Parker Sonnet. Let's go up a little bit more. The next pen, we're going back to Germany. I did want to try and use different countries, but I don't have 5 different countries from Europe, so that's why we've got 2 German pens. But it's a very different pen. This is the Diplomat Aero. This is the factory finish, so it's the raw aluminium. I love it. I love the way it looks. It's a nice feel in the hand. The cap, it pulls off, and it does feel quite loose there. Can you see that moving around? If I unscrew it, then we can see the converter. I do find around these threads, I get a bit of oxidation. So I get a bit of like green oxidation. So I have to clean them off every so often. and they are very squeaky. Not sure. Yeah. You certainly know when you're putting it on and off. The section, it's got a bit of texture to it. It's a nice shape. It's a nice size. My fingers fit really comfortably. I hold my pens down near the base. And here we've got a number 6 nib. That's a Diplomat nib there. I believe made for them by Yoho. So we've got here a Diplomat. Now this is generally a very wet writer, which is why I've put this ink in it. I'll tell you the ink name in a minute. It's a broad nib, and price-wise, you're looking approximately 370 Aussie dollars. The ink is by Colorverse, and it's a white hull. So to me, it's like a bluey grey type colour. It's very pale, which is why I wanted it in a wet nib. So it looks actually not too bad when I'm using it in this pen. Let's do our grid. So up and down. See this filling in really, really easy. Side to side. Then we'll do our lines and diagonals. Again, not seeing much there in the way of line variation. Drying times, so we go immediate. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. 1 minute. After a minute there, that's now dry. This is the Diplomat Aero. I do like this white hull. Not sure if you can see it, but to me, especially in the grid here, let me see if I can move the focus slightly. I'm seeing some like pale browns coming out as well. So we've got greys, we've got bluey colours, and I'm seeing some hints of a brown. Quite an interesting ink. Let's move that up. The final pen from Tibaldi, the Tibaldi Bononia. This is in the Bora colour, so it's like a spaghetti style type resin. Hopefully the camera's capturing all this. It's very nice. The body actually is convex, so it's slightly coming out before it tapers back in. It's another one where we've got a cartridge converter. There we go. The threads feel stiff, and one of the issues I have with this is the cap threads feel very rough. I mean, they work, they seal up all right. It just feels rough as you're twisting it around. Section, nice and wide section, comfortable to use, comfortable in the hand. You could post this pen, but I use most of my pens unposted. It's fine unposted. Then here we've got a Tibaldi nib, steel nib. So we've got here a Tibaldi, normally wool right. Let me just check this on a piece of scrap paper. So not sure what happened there. We've got here a Tibaldi Bononia. This is from Italy. Bononia with a broad nib. Price wise, you're looking approximately 365 Aussie dollars. I got my last two mixed up. They should be in price order. I don't know. I obviously can't count. The ink is by Diamine. And it's Vibe. This is an extreme sheen ink. Be interesting to see how it comes out on this Ayush paper. Let's do the grid. So up and down. Side to side. Not done a very good job there, have I? Down and across, and then diagonals. Another nib, very little in the way of line variation. Drying times, so there's immediate. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. 1 minute. After a minute there, look at that, that's still very wet, so a really wet combo. I do like the way that this ink looks, The base colour to me is like I want to say like a dark tealy blue, but then we've got this gorgeous red sheen to it. Hopefully the camera will capture this for you. Let me just try and get it to focus. There we go. Loads and loads of red sheen coming through to my eye. Let's see if I can capture that. It's very difficult to capture it on camera sometimes. If you can see it how I see it, it's virtually all like this metallic-y red type colour. Let's move this out of the way. This is our use paper, by the way, in case I haven't mentioned it. And I'm going to fetch in some Tomoe River 52 GSM paper. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos, and then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. You know, would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members? All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. 52 GSM paper. This isn't a notepad that I've had for a couple of years, so it's the old one, and it's a Goulet notepad. You see there I've marked it the old Tomoe River paper. Let's move this around to the side. Just going to fetch my blotting paper to keep any grease off the page. And what I'm going to do is write a sentence with each of the pens. I'll fetch them out in the same order. As I'm writing the sentence, I'll have the mic held down next to the page, so hopefully you can hear the pen writing. So we start with Mr. Pen. That's nice. There's a scratchiness to it, as in what it sounds like. Writing with it, once you get the nib oriented properly, it's fairly smooth. The Parker Sonnet. To me, that sounds very similar. What you can see here, though, is the difference of that line variation between that medium oblique cursive nib and this standard medium nib. Let's move this up a little bit. The Pelikan M205. Another nice writer, a little bit of tactileness coming through there as I'm writing as well. Starting to see some shading coming through there in the ink. The Diplomat Aero. A nice writer. It's a very wet writer. To be honest, I don't know why I don't get this out more often, because I love using it. It's a nice weight to it. There's a bit of heaviness to it, and it just writes so well. Now, this ink is quite interesting. First time I've had this ink in a pen, and it is fairly pale looking, even though it's in this wet broad nib. Move it up ever so slightly for the last pen, the Tibaldi Bononia. Again, it's enjoyable. All of them really sounded very similar as I was writing with them. A little bit of tactileness to it as well. Not as heavy as the Aero, but there's still a little bit of weight in it. And for an Italian pen, I think it's not bad. I'm going to leave this just a minute or so, just to give that ink time to dry, so we can see if we can see any sheen coming through on this Tomoe River paper. So let's take a look at this. Again, to me, I can see loads of the sheen. Hopefully I can catch this right on the camera. Let me just focus in. Wow, you can see that coming through. At least I can now start seeing it on the camera preview. Loads of that beautiful red sheen. Let's move this out of the way. We'll fetch back to that Ayush paper and have one final look at the pens. Today's pens, we've got the Mr. Pen, the Parsons Essential with Diamine Velvet Emerald. We've got the Pelikan M205 with Colorverse Blue Moon. We've got the Parker Sonnet with Diamine Brandy Snap. We've got the Diplomat Aero with Colorverse White Hole. And the Tibaldi Bononia with Diamine Vibe. If I was asked to pick one of these that I would keep, if I had to get rid of the other four, I've got two answers. I know, aging my bets there. The first one I would keep, purely because of sentimental reasons, is the Parker. You know, it was a gift from some of my grandkids. I've had it since 2007, so it's not as if it's a newish pen to my collection. That's definitely one I would keep no matter what. But if again you were to say, look, take out the sentimentality, then the one I would keep, it would be the Diplomat Aero. I just think it's a nice pen. It's a wettish pen, works well with most inks, nice fit in the hand, and to be honest, it's a pen you could take anywhere. So these are my 5 European pens. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. So, what do you think of the pens? What do you think of my selection? What would be in your 5 European-made pens? Please drop your thoughts down below. Let's kickstart that conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.